Thanks so much, Brian. Well, we want to get into our next live guest now. Wake Forest University's Face-to-Face Speaker Forum returns next week, and their live guest and their guest of honor will be journalist and author Thomas Friedman, who will be speaking with our next live guest.
All right, let's say good morning to Nick Schifrin. He is PBS NewsHour's Foreign Affairs and Defense correspondent and the moderator of next week's Face-to-Face Speaker Forum. Great to have you. Good morning.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Absolutely. And so this seems like a major thing to be coming to our Winston-Salem area, and it's going to be great to have you as well. So can you sort of at least for a second give us a sneak peek of some of those topics that you plan on talking with Mr. Friedman about?
Yeah, so I think obviously we'll be talking about what everyone's talking about, the midterm elections, and really what happens to U.S. foreign policy, especially depending on who ends up in control of the House of Representatives or the Senate. Some Republicans have questioned whether the U.S. should continue to fund the Ukraine war, for example. We'll definitely talk about Ukraine. I've been there 3 times this year. Tom has written extensively about it since the war began in February, and so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about China. Also, something that Tom really has focused on, the rise of China. How much of a threat does China really pose to the U.S.? And perhaps we'll take a spin as well through the Middle East. Tom Friedman's got a long history in the Middle East, and the U.S. is really trying to decide what to do with its future relationship with Saudi Arabia, especially. So we'll talk about all of that.
All right, that is a lot to discuss indeed. So what about being in your role as Foreign Affairs and Defense correspondent? Why is it so important for the news media to cover these specific topics?
Yeah, I really think that no matter where you live in America, the rest of the world absolutely has a huge effect on you today and your children's future as well. So take the war in Ukraine. Not only is it a kind of unprecedented fight against the West, the democracies represented by Ukraine, against autocracy, against Russia, but it's also affecting, as we all know, our pocketbooks. The gas bills are up because of the war in Ukraine. And so the question is, how long does that war last? How much sacrifice should Americans or Europeans really face because of some of the punishments that the European countries and the United States has put on Russia? That's helped drive up prices, and Putin's actions in Ukraine and the region, frankly, have a huge impact on us. And of course, China, everything that China does in terms of its economic decisions affect our prices here at home. And so, there's a really direct impact with talking about what's happening in the world with our daily lives here.
Absolutely, Nick. You're just discussing some of those topics that people either discuss at the dinner table or that are top of mind constantly as you're making those decisions, certainly as they were going to the polls as well yesterday.
Yeah.
But thinking forward, when you're coming here to Winston-Salem to do this face-to-face talk, you're going to be talking with the younger generation. These are students that are in college, and then of course other people who are in the area who are able to get in as well. What do you think is so important about attending talks like this, and hopefully that will help, maybe inspire those who are younger and in school to move forward and be a part of the larger conversation as well?
Well, I know speaking for Tom, he feels the same way. If we can inspire anyone, that would be a great success for us. What we hope to do is open people's eyes to parts of the world that you might read about in headlines, but we're going to get into a little bit more detail about things like China and Ukraine, perhaps even Iran, and the midterm elections. And so if we can, help people understand, the young people understand what's going on in the world, perhaps, I think Tom and I would love it if some of these young people would think about being journalists or diplomats or really engaging with the world. I think the more people from Winston-Salem who are doing that, I think the better U.S. policy will be, and dare I say, the world will be a better place.
Indeed, Nick. Thanks so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it. And for you at home, if you would like to catch the Face-to-Face Speaker Forum, take a look at your screen now. It is at 7:30 on November 15th at Wake Forest University. Tickets can be purchased right now at the website you see on your screen, facetoface.wfu.edu. Once again, moderated by Nick Schifrin, who